Hi, and welcome to Practice Insights, the channel dedicated to supporting independent consultants with tools and techniques to help win gigs and deliver client engagements. Now, our aim is to become a hub of valued resources for freelancers, interims and contractors by providing with information on every aspect of consulting life, from setting up, finding work, delivering your engagements and preparing for your retirement. So if you're interested in consulting, then make sure to check us out. Now, this video is episode 4 of our Consulting Essentials series, which provides short overviews of the most commonly used consulting tools. The series is largely aimed at people who may be newer to consulting, but it is a quick way to refresh your memory if you are more experienced. And the subject of today's video is the 7S framework. So let's break that down together. Now, every organization needs to understand how well it is performing to help determine if it is on track to achieving its goals. As a consultant, you will quickly discover that there are many metrics you can use to measure performance. But if these metrics do not cover all facets and dimensions of performance, then there is a risk that you miss the big picture. Now, the 7S framework was developed by the global consulting powerhouse McKinsey to measure and to diagnose company health holistically. It can also be used to help you think about how companies should or could be organized in order to be effective, and as a tool to help formulate and integrate a strategy. So how is the model organized? Well, the 7S model views organizations as cohesive entities with 7 different but interconnected dimensions. These are as follows: strategy, structure, systems, skills, staff, style, and shared values. Hence the 7S framework. The model is further organized into hard and soft elements. Strategy, structure, and systems are regarded as hard elements, as they tend to be both more tangible and more controllable by management. Whereas skills, staff, style, and shared values are labeled as soft elements and deemed to be less tangible and subject to influences that are less easy to control by management, like culture. The fundamental premise of the 7S model is that all 7 elements need to be aligned, as they are mutually reinforcing and form the foundations of the company. So changes in performance of any one element will influence the other elements. So let's take a look at each of the 7 elements in turn. Starting with strategy, which refers to the overarching direction of the business and the plans put in place to deliver objectives and goals. Strategy is the sum of all choices made by a company, such as how it prioritizes products, investments, resources, and which markets it chooses to compete in. Structure describes the way a company is organized, so think of organizational hierarchy, business units, and governance. Structure could also reasonably include the division of labor and the integration of tasks and activities. Now, systems refer to the processes used to get things done, such as manufacturing systems or supply planning. It also includes procedures for measuring things like financial processes, IT systems, and HR procedures. These are critical components of any company, especially one that might be going through some form of strategic change. Now, shared values describes the culture of the organization, and hopefully these are values that underpin the company's very reason for existence. They are therefore placed at the center of the framework. Shared values include the core beliefs, expectations, and critically those social contracts employees form with their companies. Style describes the behavioral attitudes of leadership. It refers to the unwritten but tangible evidence of management choices. So the priorities they set, where they focus their time, and the core effort. Management behavior is deeply symbolic and it's deeply important as it sets the tone for employees across the organization. Now, staff comprises the people in the organization, the individuals, but also their collective presence. So these are the employees themselves, their numbers, how they are recruited, how they are trained, their demographic makeup, and their sort of attitudinal characteristics. Skills are the core competencies of these employees. These form the core part of organization's distinctive capabilities. Now, one of the simplest ways to apply the 7S model is to use the McKinsey's question set itself. This will help you populate the framework. You can use these questions to populate your to-be state, so what the organization needs to look like across all 7 elements for the future. You can then ask the same questions in a slightly different way to document your as-is or your current state, the way things are done right now. The value of this is that you can quickly identify the delta between the as-is and the to-be states and immediately isolate those elements that require the most attention. So the questions are as follows, and remember, this question set that I'm presenting now is the as-is question set, so change it to the future context for the to-be set. So starting with the questions on the strategy side, think about the following. What does your strategy actually say? What are its key goals and objectives? How will these objectives be delivered? How is the company dealing with competitive pressure? How are you responding to changes in customer demands? And how is the company responding to environmental issues and pressures? Structure questions. How is the company organized? What are the core competencies, capabilities, and functions? What are the tiers, hierarchies, and governance that exist within the business? How do various departments coordinate their activities? How do functions align themselves? Is decision-making organized? Where are the lines of communication? For systems, think about the following. What are the main systems in use? Consider financial and HR systems, as well as communications and document storage. What are the controls, and how are they monitored and how are they evaluated? What rules and processes are used to drive strategy, change, and operations? When it comes to shared values, think about the following. What are the organization's core values? How is the culture? What is it like? How strong are these values? Are there informal values or value sets that sit outside those that are instructed by the center? Are there many different cultures and values across the organization? For style, think about the following. How participative are the management and leadership styles? How effective is that leadership? Do employees and team members tend to be cooperative, or are they more competitive? Staff, think about the following. What positions or specializations are represented within teams? What positions need to be filled? Are there gaps in skills or competencies? For skills, think about, what are the strongest skills within the business and how are they represented and distributed across the company? Are there any skills gaps? What is the company well known for doing? Do current employees have the ability to do their jobs? How are skills monitored? How are they assessed and how are they improved? So the 7S framework provides tools and a structure with which you can explore the performance of a company or a business, assess the effects changes might have within the company, align departments and processes, work out how to implement a strategy, and undertake an audit of the company to gauge its strengths and its weaknesses. Now, the model can be put into practice using 5 simple generic steps. Step 1, examine each 7S element to see how closely they are aligned with each other. Your goal here is to spot any gaps or inconsistencies. Although McKinsey's intended the tool to be supported by deep analysis and for deep audit, your initial assessment here can be much simpler and at a much higher level. Once you have completed your initial analysis, you need to determine what each element should look like so that you can determine the delta through a simple gap analysis. To make your life easier, I begin with the hard factors. Step 3. Once you understand the gaps, create a high-level plan that outlines what improvements are needed across each element. Step 4 is about implementation, which is usually the most difficult stage. This process is unlikely to be quick and could take from a few months to a few years, depending on the size and complexity of the change required. And the final step is to evaluate your plan. Every plan needs to be monitored and reviewed and checked against targets and adjustments made as needed. Now, as alluded to earlier, there are a number of uses for the tool. 7S framework can help you assess the critical elements of an organization. It provides a good level of structure and is nuanced enough to consider both the soft and hard dimensions of an organization. The model can be used to define current as-is states and future to-be states and the gap between them. This is enormously valuable when planning changes. It can help you to size the change journey and give you an indicative feel as to how realistic and therefore how deliverable an organization's change ambitions actually are. The tool will help you to flesh out the viability of a strategic plan, as it will enable you to quickly identify if your organization has the competencies and capabilities needed to deliver that strategy. The 7S elements are a useful guide for preparing strategy and building operating models, but I'll produce another video on operating models at a later stage. The elements provide a structured and simple and quick way for you to audit organizational health. And if you are using the 7S tool set, then please reflect on the following. The model itself can be hard to use because it does not provide you with any of the detail needed to fully assess or populate the 7 elements. No benchmarks, no processes, no standards, no models of best practice. So unless used at the highest level, the 7S framework will require supplementary tools. The soft elements of the framework represent a challenge because they can be harder to define and harder to measure. However, even if used with that detail, the 7S framework can help you quickly identify where to focus your attention. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you found the summary of the 7S framework useful, then please hit the like button and consider subscribing, as we will be developing detailed step-by-step how-to video guides for each tool in the Consulting Essentials series. We will also be running live sessions that you can attend where we will workshop and model the 7S tool and others together in real time. I really hope to see you in the next video, and until then, happy consulting.